What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Rails of Mass. Today's adventure will begin right where the previous one left off. Welcome back to CP Land. If you're just joining us, we've been following the former Bay Colony Railroad Newton line. We've made it all the way here from Medfield Junction, and today we're going to be leaving Needham and entering Newton. Now, before we depart CP Land, we're going to take a step back in time to March of 1989. It's been about 37 years since Arthur Pritchard took this video, and the landscape still looks very similar today. We're now back in January of 2026, and we have an outbound here, arriving at Needham Heights. Now, before continuing into Newton, let's take a look at the ground we've covered so far. This adventure began back at episode 1 with Needham Junction. Over the course of 5 episodes, we made our way all the way to Medfield Junction. In episode 6, we returned to Needham Junction, and from there we made our way to our current location of CP Land. The red dot shows our current location, and from here we're going to make our way into Newton Upper Falls. It's been a long time since the train passed CP Land, but as you can see here, Keolis still uses the area for on-track equipment. The right-of-way is maintained up until the next grade crossing at Webster Street, but we'll take a look in that in a minute. But first, one last look back in time before we leave. With all trains now in the clear, we're alright to proceed towards Newton. As you can see from our look back in time, this section of line once had concrete ties. The concrete tie replacement ended just around the corner, but these ties didn't last long. Between October 13th, 1979 and October 19th, 1987, the Needham line was closed for the construction of the Southwest Corridor. It was during this time period that the Needham line saw a lot of upgrades, including the concrete ties, continuous welded rail, new signals, and crossing infrastructure. At the time of purchase, it was advertised that the new concrete ties would be good for a 50-year lifespan, but we quickly realized this was not the case. About 3 years after the tie replacement project, it was evident that we had a major problem on our hands, and a large number of ties were failing prematurely. This affected both the Needham and Old Colony lines. That utility pole on the right is going to indicate just about how far the tie replacement project made it. This also marks the end of the continuous welded rail. This is still the same rail that was in place when the ties were replaced back then. Coming up in the distance, we're now approaching the next road crossing, Webster Street. As previously mentioned, Keolis maintains the right-of-way up until this crossing, but not beyond. Continuing in the same direction, we're going to use the drone and gain some altitude to get to the next crossing. As you can see, we didn't have to go far, and we're now arriving at the next crossing of Gould Street in Needham. Coming back down to ground level, you can see why we chose not to fly through this section. This crossing also did have crossing protection at one time, and there's still a little bit of evidence of that here. Now coming back to the air, we only have to go a matter of feet before we're at the next section of railroad that's missing. In early November 2016, the MassDOT Ada Lane project saw the end of the bridge here. At the time the bridge was removed, it had been nearly 10 years since the last train had crossed. The MBTA and MassDOT pretty much came to an agreement that said they could remove the bridge for the highway project. Part of the agreement for the bridge removal does include a new bridge, but that's if and when the time comes and it's needed. The idea of reconnecting Newton Highlands to Needham via railroad has been talked about before, and I really hope it comes to fruition one day. Another notable landmark here is the Udall Electronics building. This building saw many trains pass back in the day. It's currently unused, and likely will be torn down at some point. We're now on the other side of the highway, and we only have a very short distance to cover before we arrive in Newton. Now looking back towards Needham Heights, that's the Channel 5 news building there on the left. Continuing from the highway, we only have a matter of feet before we can see the town line. Taking a look at the bridge, we have Needham Heights here on our left and Newton Upper Falls on our right. Now coming to the other side of the bridge, we're going to take one last look back in time. Here you see Bay Colony 1061 and 1064 bringing the train to Needham Upper Falls. Alright, with the train now passed, that concludes our adventure here for the day. This is the second time we've ended up at the Charles River in this series, and we're going to be back crossing the Charles River again very soon in a future episode. Make sure you join us next time as we continue here from the Charles River and make our way to Cook Junction in Newton. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next adventure. As always, thanks for watching. I'm your host Steve Hurley, and I'll catch you in the next one.